Hey everybody, it's Brenna. If you're new to my channel, I am a soon-to-be published indie author. My first book comes out in just a little over a month. It's called Into the Shadows. It comes out on November 17th. Today I wanted to talk to you all about outlining. With this month being October, it is known by most writers as Preptober. We are prepping for November, which is National Novel Writing Month, otherwise known as NaNoWriMo or just Nano. So this month, a lot of people are prepping for the novel that they're wanting to write in November, and I am no different. I'm also prepping for the novel that I want to write in November. Now, I've already done my outline. I did it last month, and I kind of did a Preptober, if you will, and I worked on it for a couple days, maybe a week, getting the outline kind of where I wanted it. And then I left it to sit, and I haven't touched it since. But this week I was putting my outline into my Scrivener document because I outlined it on a separate sheet, and then I like to write my books in Scrivener because I like how you can organize it and color code it, and you can add pictures, and you can do a lot with it. And I don't do as much with it as some people probably, because I don't really understand it as well as I should. There's a lot of parts to it that I just don't really understand very well. So I do my outlining on Microsoft document, and then I'm typing it into Scrivener. If you're familiar with Scrivener, then you know that you can separate it out into folders, and then on each folder you can add like a card, which would be like beats that you want to hit or scenes that you want to write. And that's the way I use it anyway, because my outlines aren't too detailed. It's more of a general idea of what I want to happen during that chapter, just to move the plot along. I've watched some of By the Brook. She's talked about her outlining a little bit in some of the videos I've watched, and she talks about how her outlines are just, she'll be writing, entire sections of dialogue as it comes to her and stuff, and I don't get that detailed with mine. For example, in my book, I've got, that there's a meeting between certain characters. During the meeting, they discuss something they need to do, and then have, a brief disagreement with another character, and then, this is just what we're going to do. And then that's all that I've got written for the outline. Now, of course, there's going to be more in that. There'll have to be, descriptions. The book I'm writing is the third book in the series, so there will need to be descriptions of things that I have already described. So I'm going to have to go and reference the previous books and make sure that I describe everything the same. Or I can just give them a whole new room to meet in, which I might do. But just little things like that, I'm going to have to. It's a scene that's got at least 4 characters in it, and so two of the characters by that point in the book you've already met, but 2 of them you haven't met yet. So there's going to have to be discussions, who the characters are, a little brief history about them and stuff, because it's the beginning of the book that that particular scene is. So my outlines aren't very detailed, but I don't know if anybody else. I wouldn't say it was an epiphany, but I was copying my outline into my Scrivener doc, and I found that some of the scenes, when I was writing them out again, were a little bit different. I was getting different ideas, just staying with the same general theme, but occasionally it was different. And I'm not one that is too rigid when it comes to the outline. If I'm writing the book, like during Nano, or whenever I am sitting down to actually write the book, if a scene doesn't feel right, or if as I'm writing it, I feel like I come up with something that maybe it is better, then a lot of times I just scrap whatever I had outlined, and then I change the scene. But I always make sure that I know what is supposed to happen next, so that I don't write myself, down a rabbit hole that I'm maybe not going to be able to get out of. And that was just something that I was noticing today as I was typing my outline into Scrivener, is that I just came across this specific scene, and the way that I have it written down in my outline is fine. I feel like I'm getting some different ideas to make the scene more interesting. I'm veering off of my outline as I am typing it into my Scrivener document. And I didn't know if other people have that issue as well, that if they, maybe if you outline maybe on, with like a pen and paper, maybe when you're typing it into something that it changes, or as you're writing it changes. And I mean, this isn't a video really for like advice or anything. I just had this moment when I was writing, and I just wanted to talk about how just because you outline something a certain way doesn't mean that you have to stick with it. That's just been my experiences, because I'm a planner. The first book that I wrote, which is coming out in November for this series, I kind of pantsed most of it. I did outline a little bit towards the end because I pantsed it to about the middle. And then I was like, okay, well, I know how I want it to end, but how do I get there? When you hit that spot, I don't know if anybody else does this, but you hit a certain spot in the book sometimes when you're outlining or you're writing, and you know how you want it to end, but sometimes the middle is just a little bit boggy. At least that's the case for me. And that was what happened when I was writing Into the Shadows, because I knew how it was going to begin and I knew how it was going to end. And I knew from the beginning, I knew how it was going to start, and I knew the major conflict, and I knew some of the action scenes and stuff that were going to get us through part of the book. But then I wasn't really sure about everything about the middle, but I did know the big scene that I like, the big culmination, because it's a urban fantasy, so the end of it does have a big fight scene, and I knew what I wanted that to be, and I knew who the main bad guy was, and I knew where I was going. But in the middle, I got a little, I got a little stuck. So that's when I went back to outlining, and I like briefly outlined a little bit of what the beginning was, and then I skipped some space, and then I outlined at the end, but then I just filled in the middle part. So that didn't happen in the second book that I wrote for the series. I outlined it from beginning to end, and I didn't really have the issue of getting stuck in the middle because I always knew where I was going. I feel like when you're writing a series, you don't have to keep a story Bible if you don't want to. I mean, of course, everything is, it's a personal choice. You don't have to. But for me personally, I need my story Bible, which is up here. Ooh, I'm dropping stuff. It's right here. It's got all my character sheets, how my magic system works. I've drawn out little diagrams of what certain rooms look like. I've got a Pinterest board that's devoted to just this series, but certain pictures you use as inspiration, like, oh, I like the way this looks and I like the way the color scheme is. So you don't necessarily describe the room word for word. That's what I did. I would use it as an inspiration, and then I would describe the room how I wanted to, but I needed to make myself little pictures because I didn't want to at one point say that, they live in a 1-bedroom tiny apartment, with like a bookshelf, and then in the next book they're in a 2-bedroom apartment with, a balcony and, a fire escape. You want to keep consistent when it comes to a series. So for my series, I have a series story arc that is going over all of the books. I know there's going to be at least 5. There may be 6. And I've already got the main conflict that's going to be in each book. This third book is going to be kind of a catalyst book, which I'm really excited to write because some things have been boiling since, like book 1. Some things have been boiling since book 1, but they're really not touched on much in book 2. It's just way on the back burner. And then in book 3, some things really come to a head. And it's going to be, for me, it's really exciting to see the series as it's expanding and the world is changing around the characters. I'm changing the world around the characters, and they're having to change and interact with it and stuff. And I'm excited to see where it goes. But saying all that, so for me, it is important that I'm outlining each book so that I do hit the specific beats that I need to for the overarching story arc. Now, with that said, when I was transferring my outline that I've already written to Scrivener, I didn't change anything that has to do with the main beats. It was more of the series arc. It was more the specific scenes that are in the book. And I just find it funny how because I spent days on this outline, getting it exactly how I wanted it, getting all the points that I wanted to hit in the novel, and getting everything just so. I color-coded each character because the book has switching POVs between the chapters. It's not always every other, it just depends. But I color coded each chapter so that I would know whose it was and not get confused. I put the dates on it, the times of day that things were occurring, morning, noon, night. I didn't put specific times, not at like 12:47. No. But I thought I knew where it was going, and I think it's the same as like when I sit down to write the book next month. It's going to be the same. I'm going to have this outline, and I'm still probably going to go off my path a little bit, and I think that that's fine, because for me that's staying true to the way that I visualize the story and staying true to me as a writer. That's just how it works for me. But that's not the same for everybody, and I know that some people like to have a very rigid outline and they will follow it religiously and they won't differ from that. And then some people don't want to outline at all. How a person can write a series and not outline, I don't understand. And maybe they don't. Maybe they always outline series. I'm not sure. But for me, I need an outline for my series, and I need my my series Bible, so that I don't make any mistakes. So that was just something that I have found during the outlining process. What have you all found? Those of you that are planning, those preppers that are prepping with me, what have you found? Did you have an idea for a story, and when you started outlining it, it went in a completely different way? Or have you found that maybe you are usually a pantser, but now you're trying plotting and you're seeing how that works out? What are some new and exciting things that has happened to you all while you've been doing all of your Preptober stuff? Please leave it down in the comments. I love to hear from you all, and just let me know how your month's going so far. If you're prepping, then I just encourage you to keep going. If you're not prepping and you're just watching the videos and you're just shaking your head at all of us preppers, then, more power to you. Encouragement for you for wanting to start completely fresh when Nano hits. That's all I've got for today. If you all like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And like I said, let me know how your month is going so far. What have you discovered? Maybe something new about the story that you were writing, or maybe you've discovered something new that has been working for you as a writer that you haven't done in the past. Maybe it's a new routine or something, and you want to share it and maybe help others. If you would like to follow me on any other platform, all the links will be down in the description. And I will see you all next time. Bye.